Ladies and gentlemen, coming up on this episode of Break It Down with Brian H., I have a special guest, the one and only Mr. James McBride, as he talks about his new venture as he looks to become a marketing specialist for professional wrestlers. So, wrestlers out there, hold tight. This is the episode you want to be tuned into.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Break It Down with Brian H. I am your host, Brian H. Waters, and today I am joined by a special guest, the one and only Mr. James McBride. James, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Long time coming. Happy to have you on.
Yes.
I know last time we saw each other, it was right to be the Mr. Kofi Mania down at the arena, right?
Yes. We were. It was one of the loudest experiences I had. I had tears in my eyes, legit.
Yeah, we knew that it was a go home SmackDown for WrestleMania 34 or 35. I know somebody probably jumping in my ears. Go home show for WrestleMania 35. Did you go to that WrestleMania?
Yes, I did. I was there. I enjoyed the entire weekend in Brooklyn and Jersey. I went to the tailgate, the Mania Club. Big shout out to them. I love them. They raised money for Connor's Cure. We was out there all day. It was a great experience, man.
Oh man, so I imagine that was fun. I didn't get a chance to go to Mania that year, but I was able to go to the SmackDown that was right here in Baltimore. So that's always fun. Anytime you get to go to a live show, it's always fun.
Yes, sir.
But so I want to talk about your new your business. You are looking to get into marketing professional wrestlers. You're a fan. What made you want to get into the business on this way?
One thing, when you're a lifelong fan like I am, I grew up watching WrestleMania and watching different shows, tape trading, and going to Blockbuster and watching the same pay-per-view consistently. And then I thought about it on my 29th birthday this Monday. And I'm like, man, I love this business. I love everything about it. I need to even try to get into it some way, somehow. I'm not a pro wrestler, but I do have a vocation that can actually help out other wrestlers. And I think that when I did my research on it, actually on my birthday, when I was actually talking to you, I'm like, wrestlers need marketing. And secondly, they really are marketers because how they promote, they got to promote to get butts and seats. And they need help because now, since it's more of a television production with the big industries and organizations, they actually look at that. They look at your social media. They look at your brand that you already have. And some wrestlers probably not even aware of it. They just think that it's based upon athletic ability, but they looking, how can you tell a story? How can you stir the pot, engage an audience? How can you find your audience and have a large level of support? So I think that most wrestlers probably need help with that. Because for example, I was listening to a podcast with Bruce Pritchard, and he was talking about how they used to recruit wrestlers, and they wanted to see how can you sell, how can you win, how can you lose, all of those elements. But then now you add the 21st century, you put a post. How can you stir the pot? How can you keep a feud going? How can you start a feud? Your graphic design, your brand, what you stand for. That's all important for a pro wrestler in this day and age. And I think that I can help really the large group of athletes that's across this world with their marketing and their branding and their social media management, because now is levels and tiers to this thing. We can talk about calls to action, how to range emotion through your tweet, how to use the fandom of your support, your influence, and use your fandom to spread your cause. We look at even at Becky Lynch, and you can tell about her story. All her story started was from a Twitter post and saying she was better than the rest of the women that was there, and she wanted a chance. and you follow that story, and you see her, Twitter fight with people like Ronda, Charlotte, and calling people out. But that was
Mhm.
engaging the fans, and that actually raised awareness, saying this woman is a top tier, she a top dog, she is the man. And I think that most wrestlers at the independent stage need to grasp that, and I'm here to help, so they can grasp that opportunity, take that brass ring before they even get it. So we want to, with my team, I have a graphic artist and a couple other communication and marketing specialists that I work with. We want to help build the brand of the wrestler, build the story of the wrestler, um, and we want to help them also engage with their content, engage with their fans, find their fans, and find their audience. I think that's important because right now, and this is the time to build influence because now
Mhm.
everyone's online due to COVID. This is the time to build your influence. This is time to tell your story. This is the time to pick a stand for what your views is, your values, your ethical views. This is the time, and then it fix your gimmick. Because then if you fix your gimmick, because most of the time your gimmick is the extension of yourself. So you have the ability to create and stir the pot, and I want to help most wrestlers do that.
That's awesome, man. When you sit back, um, for somebody. So first of all, we gotta make sure we announce that, make sure, let it be known you're a graduate of
Yeah.
the great Morgan State University School
Yes,
of Global
sir.
Journalism.
Yes,
um,
sir. There
you
all
know,
day, baby.
you already. Um, when you sit back and you take a step back, you look into the wrestling business, you see so many things, you see it from the podcast. What do you say to the people out there who say, well, you never booked or produced a wrestling show, so how do you know how to market it? What do you say to those wrestlers who say that?
I would say that you would have to give me a chance. And I said, "Look, I can show you the work of engaging of a story. I'm from previous clients because actually marketing is still universal.
Mhm.
So you would have the chance to really show that how I can market to you. I can help you market that with your posts. I can show you the graphic designs that I already have. And then I'll actually the brand consistency and the brand identity, I mean, from previous experience. And I'm here to say, hey, I'm helpful, man. I'm a fan. I'm actually passionate about it
Mhm.
because you can hear it in my voice. I'm passionate about this business, man. This is something that I kind of dreamt about. When you was a kid, you sitting there watching. At my generational time, it was Hulk Hogan. So you watching Hulk Hogan, but you like, I'm wearing red and yellow. You hear what I'm saying? I'm
Uh-huh.
wearing red and yellow, and I got the shirts, and I got the t-shirts, I got the bandana. But then I realized this man, they marketed so well. The
Mhm.
WWE at the time and WCW marketed so well that, oh my gosh, why am I wearing this shirt? Because they created him as larger than life. I feel like I can help wrestlers to get that larger than life mentality amongst this generation, because I think that the wrestling business in general is lacking larger than life superstars. It's some that's breaking through, but it's not a whole lot. But if you look through every era of pro wrestling, there were key figures and top dogs. You look at Bruno Sammartino, you look at Bob Blackman, people that long lasting names that you remember from the 70s on to 80s, superstar Billy Graham, Ernie Ladd, Gorilla Monsoon, the late great Andre the Giant. Those are people, those names lasted, are still, it's timeless names. I feel like I can help you become timeless
Okay.
if you give me a chance. Because the fact is, wrestlers have the ability to change the world, and the fact is, and I can help you change the world. And give me a chance. And I'm glad Brian got the chance to put me on here. Um, we can go change the world together. But like I said, you have the Hulk Hogan's, the Undertakers, the John Cena's, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. We have to get back to larger than life characters. Larger than life. That's the kind of theme I'm reoccurring here.
Yeah.
But larger than life is what it is because the world is ready. They want to follow new leaders and new superstars that can take this thing to the next level. And we have some of the greatest athletes in the business today. All you need is just a good strategy to run with. And
Now
I'm here
we
for you.
oh, go ahead. And when you think
Okay,
back
I'm
to
good.
you looking at wrestlers now, one thing is we got to talk about it. You're a black man. I've been
Yeah,
on my soapbox for the past month about the lack of black writers in the
no,
WWE. I know Brandy Rhodes is the chief branding officer for All Elite Wrestling, but I still think there's a lack of black wrestling personalities and personnel backstage. So when you coming out with this with your business plan, how do you appeal to the black wrestler? How do you make that black wrestler larger than life?
what we have to do, we have to find the niche of that wrestler. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you have to find that something that can turn heads. Um, and I think that, like for example, The Rock, we all remember The Rock's story. He was a hated guy. People did not like this green athlete, and they booed him terrible. But when The Rock turned on them and went to the nation, and they
Mm-hmm.
were saying "Die, Rocky, die," he embellished that. But the way the world is set up now, we had to find what's relevant that can make someone say "I hate you" or make someone say "I love you." So in the black audience, we have to discover characters that is relatable for our time. For example, the New Day is not one of those like hip hop jobbing guys. You look at Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, Big E. They are educated guys. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they articulate. They're intelligent. They have fun. You look at those guys and you say, "Dang, that's good representation of us. We don't have to be street thugs and things like that." And you look at MVP and Bobby Lashley. Same thing. They're educated guys wearing suits and they're dominant guys. We have to discover what's relatable for the time. And I believe I can help with that, with character development and brand development, because your character is your brand. That's what you represent. So even with strategy, with our research, we can definitely find even a gimmick per se that can
Mm-hmm.
be relatable for this culture. Because, for example, MVP he represents that lavish culture of ours. And wearing a suit, VIP lounge, you wearing the gold chain. That represents that side that we ain't just no regular nobodies.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I think that for the black audience, we have to find what's relevant for our culture. I mean, really, right now, we just need to take a stand and saying we the best. That's one
Yeah.
thing. We
I,
just as equal as everyone else.
I want to
And the thing about
talk about some wrestlers. Throw some names out there. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we will get into the show. James is definitely going to stick around as we're going to talk about what's
yes, sir.
happening in wrestling. But I'm listening to you talking. I'm excited about this venture. Whatever I can do to help, I got you. But one of the questions I
Thank you.
have is, what about? So how do you? I'm going to throw a name out there, Keith Lee. So and the reason I throw his name out there because we just saw him. Getting ready for a program with Karrion Cross, and it's different because you see a 300-pound black man, you automatically think Mark Henry, right?
Yeah.
But and Mark Henry has said Keith Lee brings back big man magic, but you don't see. It's hard to even see Keith Lee as a Hall of Pain type guy. So, like with him, how do you make the crowd love him? Because we've seen this on NXT. Big E was an NXT champion. 3 ain't enough. I need 5. We've seen
Yeah.
a lot of players. Finn Balor can say that he liked Broadway better all he wants. The bottom line is the guy didn't get over the way he could have maybe in the main roster. Now, of course, it could have been some other things there, but I guarantee you, if the first Universal Champion would have had a title reign that would have been successful, he wouldn't be in NXT right now. So how do we avoid going from Keith Lee being a guy who was the NXT champion to being another guy on the main roster?
They had to invest, if I was a writer, invest into the life of Keith Lee. We all know he dated Mia Yim. I'm gonna tell you this: if you're a smart fan, and if you like me, you know his moves, the Spirit Bomb and the Big Bang. You hear those moves and you say, "Oh my gosh, he is a Dragon Ball Z fan." Dig into
Mm-hmm.
his life and see what is relatable, and that's relatable for fans. You know, there's a lot of wrestling fans like anime. That's just a part of the natural thing, because it's a lot of fight scenes and things like that. Dig into his life and make people say, "I love this guy." What does he value? What does Keith Lee value? He was limitless. The thing about it, even if you think about this, Brian, they called him limitless. At first, he had a tryout with WWE and he didn't make it, and people thought he wasn't. When you don't make it on your tryout, that means that it's a possibility they don't think you're the best. They think you're just going to be some wonder. But the fact that Paul Levesque and Shawn Michaels, all of them, they found something in him, and he's a top star. And then they put him in the ring with people like Roman Reigns and got him over. It needs relation. I think that people want more authentic wrestlers. I think that if you give an authentic view of Keith Lee, what he stands for, if he's Black Lives Matter, use that. Same thing with like Bianca Belair did when she did the Black History Month outfit. Show the authentic person and make me invest and say, look, oh my gosh, this guy, I can respect him because I dealt with the same thing or dealt with the same thing. He was a big man. And think about it, he was a lineman in football. So, of course, injuries, things he had to overcome. Make us value him as a character and appreciate his athleticism. Because a big man don't fly like that and do all of those moves normal. Because if you look back, Ernie Ladd was a big man and he can move a little bit. But this is a hybrid of a cruiserweight and a big heavyweight. He can throw you around and fly around. Make us value him.
What's two things you said that I want to touch on? One, we heard, you obviously a podcast consumer like me. We've heard Bruce Pritchard say stuff like, well, he wasn't the Michael Jordan over in those other areas in football and basketball, so I don't care about it when it comes to wrestling. Then you also touched on, I just had it. It was something you said about something Bischoff said. I forgot it, but nonetheless. Is that thinking outdated of not, like I said, Bruce Pritchard didn't like when Jim Ross would humanize people because he wanted to focus on the wrestling. Is that type of thinking outdated? And should they go more on, like you said, more in this reality stuff, since everybody knows the business is a work, everybody knows they can simply go on Wikipedia and find out their history?
Yeah. I 100% agree, because you listened to that last podcast, Bruce Pritchard, he was talking about Diesel.
Yep.
He was talking about Diesel and how they humanize Diesel. See, Keith Lee came humanistic. He has a humanistic approach, Keith Lee. Most of them do now. I don't see like this kick butt athlete like Keith Lee. Keith Lee just athletic, and he just has that vibe like I can just do anything. And really what we have to do is showcase other attributes, and then you even go character layer. I think with Karrion Kross, they actually are digging deep now of his seriousness now, because he was smiling. He smiled when he comes to the ring. He's doing a whole lot of stuff. And one thing I recognize, Keith Lee, and you dig that seriousness, then okay, he's a fighter, he's a champ. We had to find that like I said, those little elements when you put them in the ring with different types of athletes and different types of characters. That's really when you break in the layers of those type of people. But I feel like you had not humanized, but then show layers also of the characters of those people in different situations. Like, say, for example, me and Yim came down, tried to check on him if Karrion Kross just beats him up. And they beat me and Yim up. He's going to be an angry big somebody.
No matter what.
No matter what. That's a different side of Keith Lee we never seen. We never seen him serious where he just destroy anybody.
I was hoping they went there on NXT tonight. I was hoping that when Scarlett was out there, I said, oh, now's the time. Just maybe have him sacrificing or doing whatever he do to Mia Yim, and it would really, like you said, it would trigger something off. The other point I was trying to make that I drew a blank on. Arn Anderson used to always talk about the Big Show. Big Show athletic, always wanted to do the drop kicks, always wanted to do stuff off of the top rope, and he would say, save that for Rey Mysterio. And he even said the same thing sort of to Randy Orton. Is that outdated as well? Should we see more big man? Like, should we see Keith Lee flying around the ring more? Or is that something, if you're, let's say, I know marketing managers don't really touch on the actual in-ring stuff. However, it still can be marketed. So therefore, is that something you think he should save it for just WrestleMania and big matches? Or should that still be a part of his repertoire?
I think that when that era was going on, because if you look at that's prime example Undertaker. The Undertaker from 1990 to 1996, he was just slow and methodical. Then all of a sudden you just boom, you get that move and the crowd reaction. But I think the in-ring action is more fast-paced. So he has to keep up with the in-ring pace. And then they had to build that. Like, they didn't build that with Keith Lee. They kind of put Keith Lee in a program, got him in there with Lars Sullivan, moving around, flying.
That's the name we haven't heard of in a while.
Yeah, I think I don't know what's going on with him, but I remember like Keith Lee was moving with Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan, a big man. So I think that the in-ring action is more fast-paced than ever before. So you have to have, and I tell my golf over this. We had conversations about this all the time. You need a superstars or action zone type show to build these guys' move sets up. So then when you get on national TV, you have those big explosive moves, but you don't have it no more. You just
they still got main event.
Two matches.
They still have main event. It would be nice though. I remember when they tried to do Saturday Morning Slam again, and then for us it was like, oh man, this is just like back in the day, waking up, eating your cereal on a Saturday morning, watching wrestling. But then it faded away. So, but we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and talk wrestling, because I don't know if you've been seeing, but I'm still on my high that we have a brand new women's champion on Monday Night Raw, and that is the boss, Sasha Banks. But ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to the Wrestling Realm on YouTube. We just dropped 20 questions from myself, 20 questions from the real Dwayne Allen, as we discuss just some of our things that make you connect to us, some of our favorite wrestling memories. Here's a quick preview of my 20 questions.
What's up, wrestling fans? My name is The Real Dwayne Allen. This is Brian H. Waters, and we are The Wrestling Realm. And today we bring you a new show. Something smaller, but something new to the Wrestling Realm Network, is that we call it now, our YouTube channel, network, whatever the case may be, man, you named it. Nevertheless, we got a new show. It is called 20 Questions, where myself and Brian H. Waters will go rapid fire and we'll answer 20 different questions about a number of different subjects. But today, we figure for those that don't know us, you can get to know the realm just a little bit better than maybe you have before. So today, I asked Brian H. Waters 20 questions so you, the fans, can kind of get to know this gentleman right here. Brian H., you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, bro. 20 questions.
Yep.
20 questions on the clock. First pro wrestling memory.
First pro wrestling memory, Hogan versus Warrior, just getting ready, being in the car with my grandfather, and him describing that we were getting ready to go home and watch WrestleMania 6.
All right. First piece of wrestling merchandise.
Oh, man, that's a good one. Probably WrestleMania. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll go ahead and throw that right on the bottom of your screens. Definitely want you to tune in. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification so you never miss a beat as we bring James back in. What you cracking a cold wire, Steve Weiser?
Yes, sir.
But so
I'm drinking a water. I gotta work tomorrow.
I feel you. I said it before we went to break. We got a brand new women's champion, Sasha Banks. She won the championship this past Monday on Raw in unprecedented fashion for the women's championship. She beat Asuka. Title was on the line. But because Stephanie McMahon basically, without saying, the title was vacated because she said Asuka didn't win the match at Extreme Rules, the horror show Extreme Rules, excuse me, that if Sasha was to win by submission win by count out or disqualification, she would be champion. I'm happy. I don't hate this at all. I know some people wasn't really feeling it. I didn't mind it. How did you feel about Sasha winning the title that way?
It's a well-deserved win. But Sasha was really, if you look at the women's evolution from that 2015, 2016, she was really the main event between her and Charlotte. Bayley and Becky was kind of on the sidelines. She was really the first of everything. First Hell in a Cell, first Iron Woman match, first Last Man Standing match. All of that. Sasha, I could be wrong with the Last Man Standing, but all of that, she did a lot.
No, I believe she was. Her and Bayley on NXT.
Okay, I was just going to make sure I was right.
Unless Trish and Victoria did it, but I believe it was them too.
Yeah, because a lot of first. Sasha should be on the same level, really, as Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Like, you should look to Sasha and look to no one else really. But that's my take. Sasha had it all. She could be a heel and she could be a face. You put in any role and she can win. And the thing about it, this is well deserved. Bayley too.
The thing is that I hated was that when you go back and look at the history, you talked about all the championship reigns, and you look at Charlotte Flair, she probably have over 500 days of being champion. You look at Bayley. Bayley just on this title reign alone has 100 days. Becky Lynch in her last title reign had over 365 days, maybe even 400. But then there's Sasha, who doesn't even have 100 days as a women's champion. And I think that's just totally disrespectful. She was used to, I understand the back and forth with her and Charlotte at that point in time. But then at one point, she was basically handed the title over to Alexa Bliss. So I wasn't feeling that at all. I do hope that this championship reign continues. I know a lot of people like Asuka, so they probably not going to like what I have to say. But right now, WWE isn't using Asuka properly. So a title reign, she won the championship before, and she was basically a transitional champion so that you could get Charlotte in the main event at WrestleMania last year. So, and then she was given the championship here recently, which I understand you didn't want to give it to Sasha because that wouldn't have made any sense having Becky hand that over. But she was a transitional champion twice. Even if she was champion, yeah, she would put on good matches, but Sasha and Bayley have been carrying the brand. They've been carrying the WWE brand as a whole. Raw, SmackDown, and when they make an appearance on NXT, they draw money. So I definitely think it was just due, and I really hope that they hold these championships for a while. I know that if it's any two people who can make all the championships important, it would be them, because I would see them defending the tag titles, even in a sense doing double duty, defending their tag titles, but then also having their single matches at SummerSlam. Now, I
agree with you.
I want to bring this up. Naomi, last week she was trending, and because I talked about it, but I definitely want to know your opinion. She was trending. Her and Booker T sort of had an exchange of words. It was patched out. What was your thoughts when you saw that?
I agree that Naomi has been misused. I mean, she won the women's title in her hometown. You don't get no better than that at WrestleMania in 2017. Then after that, she was just kind of a filler. I think she got injured. Then they took off of TV, and she had other issues and things that are going on. Naomi literally is the last of that Divas generation. Her and Natalya is really from that Divas era. But they still were like top athletes. Yeah, because if you look at 2010, she was at NXT. That lasted that what was going to become that.
I guess if you consider the Funkadactyls divas, because by the time they really broke up or broke away from that guy and the other guy, it was as if like, you know, they were kind of already transitioning to the era. But I understand what you're saying as far as it was still the cries for give divas a chance. So I give you that
chance. Yeah, because they have actually wasted Naomi. If you be honest with you, the last couple months, I mean, she had one of the loudest pops at the Royal Rumble. You listen to that video, one of the loudest pops when she returned. She needs to be in a prime spot. She needs to be up there with the other women, with Sasha and Bailey and Charlotte. She needs that spot. But
what does
like I
the
said,
Nail Mob need to do? The black wrestling fans that love Naomi, because we see them on Twitter, we see them very vocal. You say something bad about Naomi, you're gonna have a flood of DMs.
yes,
how do you take advantage of that? And you know, put your marketing hat on. How do you take advantage of that to get Naomi to get the corporate sponsors to understand that's who they need to be putting time and money behind?
she needs to come out and just express how she feels. I believe she has done it in the response of the tweet. She's like, before this happened, she was off TV for a while, and people were like, "Where's Naomi?" And she responded. She said, "You know, make some noise, get me back on TV. I think we need to continue this." And the fact that she's on TV now, and they've given her a prime spot, and they promoting this match with Lacey Evans. I think it's a little bit of stuff, but it needs to continue. If I was Naomi's marketing manager, I would say respond, be like, "Look, this is how tell how you feel." Becky, if it worked for Becky Lynch, it could definitely work for Naomi, and say, "Bumpy, I've been here this long, and I proved myself, and y'all still won't give me a chance. Call it out, call a spade a spade." And I think that, and the fans agree. Fans agree. There's a large audience that's for Naomi, and that people, you know, misuse. But see, I don't know the creative juices that flows at Titan Tower. That's saying, you know, maybe she's just good for the spot. And I know what Booker T said, that everyone earns their spot and things like that. I hear you, because he went through those stripes in the 80s and 90s where you basically had to earn your spot, and you be almost 35 years old getting it. But now we have a voice to make noise for these athletes, and I would say take advantage of it. She should be retweeting, reposting all of those Naomi needs support. She need to repost all of that. If I was her, repost, tell her that repost everything, and just share your heart. That's another thing, and I know people are scared because they don't lose their job, but say you the best. There's nothing wrong saying you're the best, and you can back it up.
Joe Flacco said it, and he won a Super Bowl. Now people thought he was crazy, but I want to bring this up. I know you know. I was talking to my good friend Corey Saunders. Shout out to him, wrestling nephew Corey of the Wrestling Marks of Excellence Radio, and I asked him, did they miss an opportunity selling a championship belt? We saw not too many wrestlers have personalized titles. You look at it in WWE, John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Edge, and Daniel Bryan, The Fiend. Now, of course, you have these commemorative titles, like, you know, The Rock was supposed to have one. I think it was the Collector Series, but not too many people had them on television. Naomi was the first woman to do that. Did the WWE miss an opportunity right there selling the championship?
Yes, they did. They did. From a marketing approach, they should have kept that belt going, because I think the young women would love the belt, because it was more appealing for a women's belt anyway. They have lights and glow and all of that. All of that represents Naomi. They did miss a big opportunity. I think that like I said, someone thinks that she's lacking than the other ones. But they missed a big opportunity, because that would be a marketing bust.
One of the things Corey was saying, that he felt maybe they felt as expensive it was to produce that title, and they may not have got the return on the investment, because perhaps the collectors would have bought it, but maybe not the casual fan. So that's why maybe, you know, but I even said, even if you didn't do, you know, I'll see if I can, even if you didn't do like one of these, you could have did the toy. I think the toy could have been cheap, where it may not have to have a run. It could have just, glowed in the dark. And I think you would have seen a lot of people go out there. I would like to. I wonder how her side plates did comparatively, but that's what I was wondering. Did they miss an opportunity?
Well, what they did though, Brian? I'm gonna tell you this. They didn't really showcase. If you look at those people with those belts, like John Cena, and John Cena had that
spinner,
spinner belt, and
two of them.
He had the spinner belt. He had two of them. Yes, he did. He went everywhere with that belt. Like, if you see him in an interview, he had that belt on. See, they never sent Naomi on a media
blitz,
send her media blitz and get her interviews with the belt. Like, you have to get those belts in those audiences where it's like, okay, this is mainstream media, and I had to buy my kid this because I seen it on MTV, I seen it on VH1 when she's getting interviewed. If 106 and Park was around, she's supposed to come with that belt, and I think they missed opportunity with that. And that's why I think they didn't do right with it, because before this pandemic, you're supposed to send these people with the media with their belts. That's what they're supposed to do. Like, you going Good Morning America, they got their belts on. So
and they did a good job with Kofi Kingston when he won the championship. Actually, before the championship, he was all over Hot 97, The Breakfast Club. I think he was on The Breakfast Club, but he was on. He was on so many different shows where it was almost as if he didn't win, it would have might have been dangerous there, because you felt it, like, but maybe they won't give it to us. You know what I mean? But let's move on. Speaking of the WWE Championship, Randy Orton, he's challenged Drew McIntyre. Now, earlier today, I was actually watching his match with Kofi last year, and I was like, wow, Randy's going to challenge for the championship back-to-back years. We all know that fiasco. The Daniel Bryan fan calls it a fiasco that happened in 2013 when he cashed in his Money in the Bank. And I was extremely unhappy. But he just challenged Drew McIntyre. I personally wouldn't mind seeing Randy Orton have another championship reign to really maybe, I don't want to say hit the reset button, because I think Drew McIntyre has done a great job. I just feel that it really sucks that he hasn't had the opportunity to do this in front of fans. But how do you feel? Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre heading to SummerSlam.
I think that's the best. That's the money-making feud right now. Randy Orton is almost a 20-year guy. That's the most recognizable person you can put on the card that's from a different era, that has drawn money. I do feel bad for Drew McIntyre. He didn't get the chance to really have a good, because it's just not a crowd. Like, you couldn't see that groundswell when he won, at WrestleMania, and seeing the people go crazy to really solidify him as a top guy. I think, in my personal opinion, I'd rather see him chase the title, and at least get to the Royal Rumble and do it over again, instead of giving 2 runs. I honestly do. I would think that'd be the case, and to build him up, because then, now that's another one that has become humanized. He was got a psychopath. He was Big Daddy Drew. When he first came back, if you look at the comparison with Drew with Dolph, Big Daddy, he called himself that, but that's what I compared it to. But he hits run because you humanize him, you're making him smile. He's a killer. Keep him as a killer. That's what make people fall in love with, because he's a killer. Austin was against the system. He wasn't up there smiling. He was against the system. He was giving middle fingers. He was beating up the management. Come on.
So you want to make Drew a heel again, or just keep him as a killer?
Keep him as a killer face. I think that fans like that vicious side of those faces, because think about it with Becky. When Becky got aggressive, they kept cheering. Cheering. And she was supposed to be the heel. They turned her back face and kept that same level of aggression. Keep Drew as that Braveheart, as you said, as Adam Copeland always said on his podcast. He's like Braveheart. Keep Braveheart. Keep him as that Scottish killer that will take you out with that claymore. And he up there. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. let's move on. We got the Street Profits taking on Andrade and Angel Garza at SummerSlam. Is this over? Is it over for the Street Profits come SummerSlam?
It's a 50-50. I think they see a lot in Andrade and Angel Garza. I think from the dirt sheets, they're saying that Vince thinks that Angel Garza is like the next Eddie Guerrero. So I think they're building momentum, but the Street Profits had that amazing feud and skits with the Viking Raiders. I mean, you can kind of keep them in a prime spot. To be honest, if they want to produce like tag team wrestling in the main event scene, I would put the Street Profits on the top of the list. But I think that they want them to chase after the titles a little bit because it's really only the depth of the tag team division on Raw is real low. Because Ricochet and Cedric Alexander hasn't been on the show. They've been on main event, but they haven't been on the show winning matches as a tag team. And then they just won a match with against Hurt Business. But you got to build that tag team division. So I think they want to have a pair of heels to have people to chase after. But they need to kind of build that tag team division at really the same time. But it's a 50-50 chance. I hope the Street Profits keep it because they are entertaining. You can see Paul Heyman is in their ear a little bit. You can still kind of see the influence of Paul Heyman. But the Street Profits been killing it. And my girl Bianca, I don't want to shit her, but Bianca Belair, they need to do something with her. Now I'm a fan of Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I wish she would get involved in this. I do. Everybody knows her and Montez Ford are married. We saw what happened at WrestleMania. It's not just they're not just dating; they're married. They're together, bonded by holy matrimony. Put her in this. What I do see is I see Angel Garza here, and I see Andrade here. You know what I mean? Wrestling wise, they both got it. But Angel Garza, his charisma, and then the stuff he does with Charlie, and you can see like her blushing. It's different because you never really had. Of course, they in the Attitude Era they flirt with the backstage announcers. The Rock was great for it, but you really see something. You're like, wait, are they smitten or what? So I think that's cool, but I think eventually Garza's it just seemed like he gonna break off from this. He can be a very sneaky heel, but I also think he has the charisma to be a monster babyface, a white meat babyface, sort of like you said, like that Eddie Guerrero. And I haven't seen anybody like that in a long time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. They were looking to reach that the Hispanic audience, and I think that's a good representation because Rey Mysterio is constant. That's always going to be a constant with Rey Mysterio. But you do got to create new stars, and I think the Angel, he has it. He just has it. The more deeper they go with Angel and dig deeper in this character and bring out other attributes, I think he'd be a top star. And because he reminds me of Edgar. I said Latino Heat 2.0. Just more smooth, and he doesn't say a whole lot. He just sit there and smile. So yeah, they going to do something with him, and I think that because how he brought up from the NXT roster, that's a whole lot right there. A lot of people that get brought up now, it ain't the same like it used to be.
Let's move on. Tag team wrestling. Sticking with tag team wrestling. Moving on to AEW. We saw tonight FTR. They signed some contracts, which they didn't have the mask on. Folks, put on your mask, please. But
please do.
They signed some contracts, which they also said they want tag team dedication. Personally, I think it's corny. I know these guys love tag team wrestling, but I tweeted from the Wrestling Realm, which you can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Realm. Matter of fact, let me throw that on your screen for those out there watching. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling Realm. When I saw that, I was like, I get they love tag team wrestling, but like, we was talking about podcasts earlier. One of the things, listening to Eric Bischoff, he brought up is it's expensive. It's expensive when you think about trying to produce, doing media appearances. You got to do 2 of everything. And it's a lot of times you don't get a return on the investment. Now, that doesn't say that tag team wrestling has never been great. I don't go back as far as the NWA days to be able to speak on it as I vividly remember it. But I can say, like, during the Attitude Era, you had a plethora of tag teams. I'm about to call them Acolytes Protection Agents, APA, Hardys, Edge and Christian, Undertaker and Big Show in '99, Kane and X-Pac, the Hollies, Midian and Viscera. You had all these tag teams. So much at SummerSlam '99, you had a tag team turmoil match. And some people may say, oh, they was makeshift tag teams. Some people may say they weren't that good, but you was interested to see these matches. Now, I'm looking at it and I said, can AEW really have a very entertaining tag team division? And if so, what would it take for you to be invested?
Right now, I think actually I'm a big fan of AEW.
Okay.
I had to record NXT and then I watch NXT, but I'm a big fan of AEW. I watch that live.
Yeah.
I think that AEW really has the best tag team division in pro wrestling right now. And if you look back at that match of Revolution with the Young Bucks and Hangman and Omega, that was the greatest tag team match I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I mean, in my 29 years now, I think that tag team wrestling, I mean, the way they're being produced is an important factor. And I think that, I mean, and they're selling out shows on tag team matches. Who does that? The WWE doesn't even do that. They base their show because if you look at now, they're doing a women's tag team tournament. The show is bringing back tag team wrestling. Now, if you look at the 80s, oh my gosh, the Bumblebees, Heart Foundation, the Rougeau Brothers. I mean, that was a demolition. You look at the Rock and Roll Express, the Legion of Doom.
Now you know you better say Road Warriors. People will get on your nerve if you call
the Road Warriors. Yeah, they know what I'm talking about.
I know.
Don't you be. But the Road Warriors, that was tag team wrestling. Like you talking about larger than life tag teams. I mean, the one of my favorite tag teams, the Heart Foundation. I think AEW has that now. I literally think that. So I think that right now, what they need to do is just continue and just embellish the tag team division. I think this was actually separating them from the rest of the competition.
I'm gonna tell you this.
This
is my big issue, and I think it goes to the fact that the Young Bucks aren't the tag team champions. When you think about everything they did leading up to this, they were so over on their own, not with the WWE behind them, not with New Japan, but obviously all the stuff worked, but they were so over. Why aren't they the tag team champions? My biggest issue with AEW has always been they told us that Kenny Omega, Cody, can't call him Rhodes, and the Young Bucks were executive VPs. I didn't need to know that information. That's an issue. So because I know that information, what I see them trying to put people over is a way of saying, hey, we don't want people to think we're being Triple H of the 2000s where we got to put ourselves over, or we don't want people to think we're being a Gagne or we got to put ourselves over. So we're going to put everybody else over. Kenny Omega a year ago, 2 years ago, was the hottest free agent in wrestling. He was, he was having 20-star matches according to the BHW scale. I don't recognize that guy in Meltzer, but 20-star matches with Okada. And now, and you sitting there like, man, I wish he'd go to WWE. Imagine but maybe they'll mess him up. AEW is doing exactly what people thought WWE would do. He's teaming up with Hangman Page, where he should be a champion. Cody should be champion, and not the TNT champion. And the Young Bucks should be tag team champions. They're on TNT. You imagine if you market the Young Bucks to the little girls, the teenagers of this generation, they'd be this generation Hardy Boys easily. And that's where my issue is.
Yeah. And I get that. The thing is, they want to build stars off their name, and I
Mhm.
think that like with MJF getting the rub off Cody, and they build that long story, and because like Cody is a long term storyteller, he's like his dad, so he likes to build those long term stories. Um, I think that I personally, I believe they all should be champions too. Kenny Omega should be really pushed more, but I think he's not a promo guy. He doesn't do a whole lot on the mic. He just do a whole lot of work on the ring. Um, but they have to. I guess they want to put over talent, give other people a chance, because that's what AEW is about, giving people a chance. But I think that
Eventually, but look,
yeah, they
come
need to
on
be
now,
champions.
you're a marketing guy. You know, eventually the executives and stuff. You know, the real Dwayne Allen talks about this all the time. The executive's gonna say, "Look, y'all, come on now. Who are these guys?" You know, and when they start getting involved, then you're gonna have issues. And I understand the WWE has had 20 plus years to figure stuff like this out. You know, since going public and everything. I understand
Yeah,
that, but AEW, they come out there, they talking about all this stuff. You got Tony Khan. I understand. I love the passion. Love how he's passionate about the business. But if this stuff doesn't get going, what are they doing? AEW, I remember when the announcement came and Jericho was over there. I was telling friends who don't watch wrestling anymore, but watch it on Attitude Era, hey, you might want to check this out because this may be a little bit more edgier because it's not in the WWE umbrella. You got Chris Jericho over there. That's a name you recognize. And it was like, okay, cool, but then, and I understand the pandemic happened. We saw what happened with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy was set, but that gimmick couldn't get over because we were supposed to see 40,000 people yelling delete,
yeah,
and he's supposed to be broken. But I'm looking at this like, all right, Cody Rhodes, Cody, he's the TNT champion. He's wrestling all these indie guys, right, for the title. But in my head, I'm sitting there like, I know they're not going to beat him because they're not signed with the company. He's trying to get over other people, give people a chance. Get over the talent you got already signed.
I agree with that. I think Cody. I honestly think that first, I didn't think that the TNT Championship was going to be like a television type championship. I thought it was going to be second tier, the workhorse title of that brand that you given a good match. And they trying to do that. But he's defending it every week. I personally don't like that.
Okay.
Two, I agree that the other talent needs to get over. You got the best friends, and he was giving like tag team wrestlers a chance. But I think you got all those other guys, the Dark Order, Brody Lee, and you that needs to wrestle a little bit more. But they kind of protected him, and then you had Cole Cabana and all of those guys that's like workhorses that were known great wrestlers. Give these guys a chance, and that's there that
If you defending a championship every week, it's just we know you're not gonna lose. That's the whole thing about. I'll say this: when Kofi Kingston was champion, every championship defense, we was on pins and needles, thinking
yes, we were.
And part of it is because of the WWE's history with race. But we was thinking, man, they probably gonna take the belt off of him. They're gonna take the belt, And it was supposed to feel that way with Daniel Bryan in 2014. He just after he beat Triple H and beat Triple H. I mean, the Yes Movement.
Yeah, yes.
But you knew like it was, but then he got one title defense and then he couldn't wrestle anymore. So that's all I'm saying. But we saw a debut tonight. We actually saw two former WWE superstars on AEW television. I'll start with the guy formerly known as Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. How do you feel about that? Woo, woo, woo. Long Island Matt is now on AEW next week in-ring debut. He's Cody Rhodes' boy. I'm excited to see this. How about you?
I'm definitely excited. That was the first one of those first wrestlers that kind of got exposed to social media and used his social media to gain influence. Now that's the very first wrestler marketer, Zack Ryder. He had the
second
championship.
You gotta give Matt Hardy version 1. You know,
Oh yes, and, version 1. Yeah,
that Matt Hardy was doing all that, and it set the precedent because remember, social media wasn't where it was at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't. That definitely wasn't. You know what? Yeah, I'm thinking in my time capsule. You right. You definitely right. He definitely right on WWE.com. But he was that first one that kind of used social media to his advantage. But the WWE did not see nothing in him. They let him win the U.S. title, then make him a jobber again.
Right here in
And it was
Baltimore.
years. Oh my gosh, yeah. I
Were you
remember
there?
that. I ordered that. Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
I was sitting in the balcony.
Me too.
Oh my god. I was 19 at the time. Oh my gosh, that's a long time ago. But I think that he's well deserved for a push, and I think that it looked like he was serious. I've never seen this side of him, so it looked like he's about to shift his character a little bit, become more serious. He deserves. He got the look. He got the personality. He can talk. He's a good representation of the company. You could send him anywhere, and he knows how to act. He dressed well. I mean, they can definitely promote him. Just like, and he has his own following. He's a toy collector. You can use that to your advantage. And they just, with their new toy collection that you need to promote and advertise, come on, partner with Zack Ryder. You get those people that they are toy collectors.
You better call him Matt. Figures. WWE owns that name, man. They own the name Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder. I'm sorry, Matt. Forgive me.
Yeah, I do. I really enjoy. He, like you say. I mean, he looks jacked. He looks ready. I think we'll get a more serious guy. I just don't like the way he debuted. To me, it didn't really feel that moment, and also the announcers. I gotta go back and look at. I'm a big audio guy, so I think back to when Ultimate Warrior was running out and Tony Schiavone, and yes, folks, Tony Schiavone was in WWE, yelling, "Listen to the fans," them yell, "That's gotta be Kane," So I didn't get that oh snap feeling, you know what I mean? And to me, that's where a ball was dropped. Where if you would have had Cody in a real struggle, or even just saying, "Hey, fine, I'm bringing on somebody next week," and create that anticipation, because I do think Matt Cardona is a big enough name. I feel he's a big enough name where you could have created that anticipation and would have made me really look forward to his debut. Or just when he came out, it would have gave everybody a huge pop. So that kind of, that did irritate me. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree 100%. I think that Jim Ross and Tony, a little older, they forgot the pop as they used to do. But they need to do better. But this crowd is.
Yeah, I was gonna say that energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That there's no energy with the crowd. I play drums at church, and obviously it's a whole different ball game. But I can tell you that it's different playing drums in rehearsal as opposed to when you get there and you're in front of people and you see people standing up. That energy just hits different. So I can imagine if I'm playing in front of 100, 200 people, and how athletes and performers feel, as opposed to just doing this in front of their friends.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think that what the problem is with this pandemic and this, because it brings me back to studio wrestling. It's just that you don't have like real enthusiastic fans. You literally got wrestlers that they are fans. Though most of them are fans. They love wrestling all their lives, but you gotta have that reaction that like, oh my gosh, that's Matt Cardona. That's the performance that had. But that, like, because when Jake Hager debuted, because I went to the AEW show when it was in DC, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Jack Swagger. Like, oh my gosh, that's Jack Swagger. But that's that natural reaction. But see, when you already seen Matt Cardona in the arena, you just like, he gonna show up. So that's the element of surprise. The WWE will hide you until it's your time to show up, and no one in the arena will know.
Yeah, and they did a better job with the FTR when they came
Yeah,
out
yeah.
in the trucks. I thought that was a good, even though in the midst of this pandemic, I thought they did a good job with that. We also saw tonight somebody I'm a huge fan of. I get a lot of heat, but I don't care. Former WWE diva. We talked about her tag team partner earlier, the former Funkadactyl, formerly known as Cameron, now Ariane Andrew. We saw that like before. If you follow her on social media, like I do, you know that she was set to make her in-ring return during WrestleMania weekend, doing one of the shows down there. Obviously there was no shows, but that, like, I guess with so many people that itch to get back in the business, to get back in the ring, she had to scratch it. Nyla Rose partner, another one. I didn't like how they brought her in. I feel that she was a somebody who's been gone from the wrestling business, I think, over 5 years. That maybe obviously she wouldn't have got nowhere near a pop before, but I think that it would have been cool to see her have an entrance and then have those fans have that reaction. How did you feel about this? The way they brought her back.
Saying I'm in a total agreement with you. I think that what you have to do is advertise like they did Warlow. They advertised that he's coming, and then he just popped up out of nowhere. I think that you got to start advertising that these guys are coming to the organization. They keep popping up unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's where you lose viewers really, and you lose excitement. You gain excitement by advertising that, hey, Macedonia is coming, and Ariane, she's coming. You advertise that. Like they should have been advertising because they just did this tournament. They just announced the tournament last week. So you need to advertise some surprises and say, hey, there's some surprises here, and they forget that. That's one thing the WWE has been doing. If you look back, vignettes has always been key to some superstar success, and they're not doing that. They're just popping up out of nowhere, and it's actually depreciating their value of their debut. So I think that you got to advertise them efficiently and let them know that they're coming. Like, because I remember Cody Rhodes like had an interview and he was saying that they might not sign Macedonia and all that, trying to swerve the people. But you could have teased that he was coming in some way, shape, or form. Even if you didn't give us a hint, you could have gave some like a woo woo woo, or give us something like this. Is this really going to happen or not? Some type of teaser. And I think that that's what they were missing. They missing teasers and vignettes. You have to build these guys and find their value as former WWE superstars. You're gonna get eyes on them. Heck, Ariane is on Total Divas. That's a whole nother
Mm-hmm.
audience and market by itself. So
And she was on another
she is
show on
huge.
USA,
Yeah, she was
another
on another.
reality
I
show.
can't the show. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I know she was on that show. But that's a whole nother market. So why
Yep.
not use that to your advantage? That's
Mm-hmm.
my thing.
All right, so let's move on. We about to get out of here, but there's a couple things I definitely wanted to talk to you about. Jim Ross said on the broadcast tonight that Jake Hager hasn't reached his full potential as a wrestler, and I tweeted a roll in my eyes or oh really GIF, one of them things on at Wrestle Realm, because what more can he do? I don't see it. I don't see. Yes, the skill set is there. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world, one of the legit tough guys, but I don't see anybody buying into his character.
No, I don't think Jake Hager has a limit. They trying to put a heat. They trying to give him as the heater, the big man in the
Mm-hmm.
circle. But I think that's going to be the peak. Now, if they make him like Brock Lesnar, like breaking a limb and breaking ankles, and it kind of you got to make him a killer. And I'm not. No, I keep saying this over and over again. You got to make these people if they are legit tough guys,
Uh-huh.
embellish their toughness, show that they don't have a smile or a smirk. Like, and then they humanize him. He joking with Chris Jericho. And he should have a straight face. So they did it for a while. He just didn't say nothing. He just had a straight face. Let him be that killer. But see, the thing is, they humanized him a little bit. Then he lost to John Moxley, and Moxley beat him, clean. Like I was thought it was gonna be some type of dirty finish or something where you protect him, but he lost the match. So and they got to do better. But I don't see the potential of Jake Hager really being this top star. And then he's not in no Bellator. There's no Bellator right now, and come on, they gotta figure it out. And I think that it's gonna take some time. But if you make him a killer, then I say, okay, yeah, he sounds serious. You giving him some danger involved, you know.
Yeah, and I think Jim Ross is just marking out. That's his boy. That's somebody he went out and signed. Of course, he went to Oklahoma. So I was just listen. Like I said, Jim Ross is one of my favorite commentators in not only professional wrestling but in the history of the craft. I had to do a project at Morgan State, and we had to pick our favorite broadcaster. I wrote a report on him because that's how much I respect his craft. But in this opinion right here, I'm just like, really, JR? Come on now. But I'm gonna do a segment called Around the Net. Let's see if this plays. Go ahead, go around the net. We talk about some things that's going on online. Around the Net, brought to you by B Waters Productions. If you're looking to get an event filmed or high quality pictures, you want professional quality, simply go on Instagram at B Waters Productions and visit www.brianhwaters.com to book B Waters Productions for your event. All right, so Around the Net. Haven't done that in a while, but I was scouring the internet a little bit and I saw some things that kind of got my attention. One was Cody saying he wanted, and this is obviously I was putting together the show before AEW. Got to have a lot of pre-production, and he got one of his guys, but he said people he wanted is Rusev, Hawkins, and Ryder. That being, I think his name is Milo now. That's formerly known as Rusev. Brian Myers, who is Kurt Hawkins, and we all just talked about Matt Cardona. I look at this, and Milo has said he's given up professional wrestling to become a full-time gamer. And then, Kurt Hawkins is also just in phenomenal shape. How do you feel about these guys coming over to AEW?
I believe that I believe that Myers is actually at Impact now. He signed over with Impact Wrestling. I wish he would have went to the AEW. But Miro has so much potential. That Rusev Day, the former Rusev, but Rusev Day was so popular that they killed it. He has potential to be a top star, but I'm glad for Matt. Matt deserves his moment, and I think this is his time. But hopefully they don't mess up creatively, because it seems like you said, Matt Hardy. All of a sudden he's just Matt Hardy because it's no crowd. But we have to get past that, and they gotta get past it and just push them to the moon. Rocket strap him, as Edge and Christian say. Rocket strap him. But Kurt Myers, I was going to say Kurt Hawkins. Myers is in Impact Wrestling right now. I just seen a promo with that, and I think Impact, and I know that the sideline, but Impact has all those guys right now. He's Slater, the Good Brothers.
I'm glad you brought that up. How you feel about that? And looking at, they've kind of been the laughing stock in professional wrestling for the past few years. However, they've lasted longer than WCW. I believe they're now 15, 16 years or something like that. So they've been around, and for some reason, they don't go under. How you feel about Impact Wrestling moving forward? Are you excited? Are you adding this to your rotation on Tuesday nights?
It is on a rotation now. I was just, again, with my golfer, I was like, these guys they're gonna do something with these guys. But you need a strong number 3, as we all had the WWE, ECW, and WCW. I think that Impact is still in the race right now. And then you have the NWA. But I think Impact is going to do good with them. I think that Heath Slater, another one, who needs to be pushed to the moon, who has charisma, who can make you laugh, can do all of those things. Another guy in the Good Brothers, I actually hated the fact that they left the WWE. Felt like they didn't get their just due. I felt like they wasted them terribly. I'm glad that they did leave on the high note with the Boneyard match, but they were literally the Bullet Club at the peak of that. You could have bought that in America and crushed. You could have literally did an NWO type angle and literally say, "Hey man, just take over the whole business." Put them battle with them. They could have took over the whole Raw and SmackDown and just had a crushing. Just they crushed everybody. But I don't know the creative juices that were flowing there. I mean, it's a sad case because they made all that money and then get let go after you had a memorable experience being a part of Undertaker's last match. That's a whole lot. But man, they need to do a lot. They have a good set of guys there, Reno Scum and all of them, Eddie Edwards. And it's going to be a good show. Impact is a sleeper. It's a sleeper right now, but they're going to have a good show. I think so. Especially Moose. Moose is a bad somebody. People sleep on Moose. Moose is one of the best athletes out there right now. I think.
Look now. I guess we had to get an hour in before we have a disagreement. I don't see it. Yeah, he's a former football player, but he don't do it for me. This whole thing with the TNA championship, and I know EC. I think no, it wasn't EC3. Shoot, who was it? I told him, pretty much like, come on now, you're not the champion. It don't do it for me. But yeah, I agree with everything you were saying, and you just had to throw Moose name in there. Look, he still sucks, man. In-ring work don't do it for me. I don't like his look, the stupid headband. No.
It was Moose. I was talking about the old Moose.
Let's move on. Adam Cole was on the Pat McAfee show. We all saw what happened. Adam Cole has since apologized, but we did see Triple H go on the show, and he even said he felt like he was talking to, he was being himself as a parent, talking to his kids, and this is what you did wrong, and this is why you made him mad. Work or no work? What's your theory on it?
I think it's a work. I think that Pat McAfee want to get in the ring because there ain't no way that Adam Cole just go off on you like that, and you don't retaliate back and then say he's not coming to my show, so you're gonna jump out. But no, that's fighting words to me. You say F me, I want a piece of you. So I mean, hey, it's a setup. I think he wants to get in the ring and he want to do it on the big stage. So NXT will be the best show. And Adam Cole doesn't have nothing creatively going on, but then you started this stir, and they kept you on TV for it. Because he reminds me of Shawn Michaels. That's something Shawn Michaels would have did back in the day if he was on a show and that type of attitude. Because you can get away with it. You get away with cussing on Twitter because it was on social media and on that type of station. You get away with that, but it wasn't on WWE TV. So I think that, man, it's a battle coming because all it is, Sean, if you don't do it, you're a chump. That you just got scared and all that,
Is this below Cole? Should he just not be concerned and get ready for Raw SmackDown?
It's good publicity for the WWE. They want to. I would think that they will probably use that to their advantage, and then he'll go to Raw SmackDown. But I hope he goes with the Undisputed Era. I hope so because I think that they shouldn't split them up because then Roderick Strong would get lost. And then you would have to keep what's the guy's name?
Kyle O'Reilly
Fish,
or Bobby Fish.
Kyle O'Reilly as a tag team because they didn't develop them without being in the Undisputed Era. That's all they know. I think that's one of those factions you keep them together for a little while, a little longer than usual, and then you kind of split them up. Somebody turn on somebody or someone wins the championship and you're mad. But I hope they keep them when they go to Raw and SmackDown. Keep them together.
Yeah. So I was looking at I was looking at them and I thought about it today and I said, so when Roderick Strong was in Ring of Honor, I just always didn't feel he had enough charisma. I thought he was just a phenomenal wrestler who could give you 60 minutes in the ring, put on a 5-star match, kind of like Davey Richards. But then giving the microphones. But man, going to NXT, as Daniel Bryan talked about before, finishing school. And I see what Roderick Strong is. I was like, oh, this guy, I like this. He's actually fun to watch. So when I sit there and look at it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe they wouldn't be so bad. Maybe this could be Triple H-esque when Shawn Michaels left, even though Shawn Michaels, left with an injury and Triple H really put together a whole new group, maybe. But I do think it would be best to move them all up. I would like to see them go to SmackDown personally. I mean, you just think about the opportunities there. Adam Cole versus AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan versus Kofi, Big E. So,
Big E, yeah.
It's so many cool things. And let's move on. Last thing is they recently released the Bumpy Awards. That's the show that comes on. The Bump comes on, I believe, every Wednesday. I tune in here and there, but it's not like my go-to show. But I'm gonna read some of these awards and see if you have any discrepancies. I'll read them. I'm not gonna go through the whole list, but just some of the match ones. All right, so for Tag Team of the Year, the Golden Role Models, that's Sasha and Bailey. For the rivalry, I should say half year. Rivalry of the half year, Gargano and Ciampa. Cinematic match of the year, the Boneyard match, Undertaker, AJ Styles, WrestleMania, Undertaker's retirement match. The in-ring match of the year, Edge versus Randy Orton at Backlash. At the social media reaction of the half year was Mandy and Otis moment at WrestleMania. And then last but certainly not least, the half superstar of the year, Drew McIntyre. Do you have any disagreements with any of those?
The Mandy moment, I don't agree with that. And Otis, first off, they're off TV right now. But
You said what?
They're off TV right now. They haven't been on TV for a couple weeks.
I think they got coronavirus.
I think so too.
I hope I'm wrong, but I just hate the way they've been kind of hiding the WWE hiding that. So, but sorry, go ahead.
But I think that first off, I would say Bianca Belair's debut this should be in that moment. I agree with the majority of those award recipients. I think that with Drew McIntyre, I would say Edge return. Edge should be the superstar of the year. Now that should be the one. That honestly, because you coming from a neck injury like that, I don't think that that's possible. At 9 years and at his age, that should be the superstar of the year. But I can say a whole lot, say who else should be. But everything else I think is good. The Boneyard match, you have to give it to the Undertaker. That was his last match, we think. We hope. I hope he just do one more match and then just let it go. But that's another story, another time. But the Golden Role Models, they deserved it. They deserve it as well. They deserve it. Edge and Randy Orton, that match, I don't think that they can say they had the greatest match ever. I don't know why they even put that theme on there because that's so hard to live up to. They did give you a great. It's just hard. Like I just don't see it. It is hard. You can't see that. And I just wish that they didn't put that moniker on them. But they did have a great match. They had a great match. I think that they deserve that. But all of them, I agree. I honestly agree. I know you might have a little difference, but I think the Otis and Mandy one just take out.
See, I actually like that because when I think about that match, I know it's, social reaction of the year, half year. I think about what if fans would have been there. Can you imagine that being at Raymond James Stadium with 80,000 fans? They would have popped for that moment. The in-ring match of the year, Edge and Orton was great. I still go with my guys, Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. I think that match should have been on Backlash, but one, I think Fox probably wanted it because it was for the vacant IC title, and two, they didn't want to show up Edge and Randy Orton. So, but I think that was the match of the year. Everything else, everything else I pretty much agree with. Gargano and Ciampa, man, those guys can fight forever. I don't get tired of their rivalry. I would like to see them take it maybe to, a main roster, or maybe have one, I know they done now, but like I always enjoyed their matches. But yeah, the match, WrestleMania definitely missed out on a lot of reactions. You think about that, you think about Team Bad having that stare off, Edge and Orton, just so many moments during that match where there was opportunities for fans to really just suck it in. But I think I just think that in the empty arena for WrestleMania, the superstars did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that was. I wish they would have had the crowd in there. They just would have followed suit with AEW. But I mean, they did a phenomenal job with the whole thing. The Firefly Funhouse, I think, was just crazy. That was just crazy good. And Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and all of those guys, man, they did an awesome job with what they're doing. I don't know when it's going to be a crowd, but I think we should appreciate the studio wrestling just a little bit, closed set wrestling.
I was going to ask you that, though.
Fan,
should they go to full studio wrestling? Like, because when you said it, I meant to bring it up earlier, but you was on a roll. Should they have a smaller set as opposed to the Performance Center being, the way it is? You could tell, like, you could fill in more fans. But should they mimic a studio style where it's a more intimate setting, but I guess you still got to practice the social distancing. So that's the hard part, though. But should it be in a smaller venue?
I do agree with that. 100%. I think that Performance Center view is just not a good view. Because they had the production to do a closed set where it can be really, really nice. But yeah, they need to get rid of that Performance Center. First, they need to get out of Florida. I think there's another problem right there. They need to get out of Florida. Because see, like, this about to be a Corona. That's Corona Epic Center, the whole country. But yeah, they need a deep close set. I think if you're a real wrestling fan, you look back at the NWA and you look at Saturday night, championship wrestling. That was a studio. And
I didn't like it when the NWA first came. I didn't like it. Really? I was it looked cheesy. 80ish, I was like, we passed all this, especially like the graphics, it was just super 80s, but I kept watching it, I kept giving it a chance, and the more I watched it, I enjoyed it. But off top, I ain't like it.
You're like, at first they had the music, and I was like, they ain't had no theme music and everything. Then on the pay-per-views, they gave them theme music. But I think it's a fun appreciation to have those guys give an intimate setting. I think it should be. That should be key. I think that really that's how it was in the 90s. You look at the superstars, and they was wrestling in high school gyms back in 1994, 1995. I would say to bring that back, bring some of that back, because then really that's where the hardcore fan base is anyway. And that's when you really get the loudest reactions. But I know that they want to get the big arenas. But I think probably within the next, if this vaccine or whatever this happens, they're gonna start going to those smaller venues that's 3,000 to 5,000 people. But I think that's a lot of reactions. That's why AEW is actually beating the WWE in crowd reaction, because they go to smaller events and in smaller venues, and those fans are so loud. Like the fans made AEW. I think that's why AEW got over so quick, because they cheered so loud for those people. Then they would boo so loud too. I mean, so it was just, that's why I think those venues, it brings that out of people. But when you're in a big arena, you get tired, people getting sleepy and everything like that. But bring back the smaller venues, the intimate venues, because I think fans appreciated that you put on a good show, for them in those events.
Cool. Well, we're ready to close it out. Let the people know where they can find you. I'm gonna throw your Twitter handle up on the screen, but also, especially for the wrestlers who are looking to get, some marketing. Now you heard him talk, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the wrestling business. He's not just some mark out here that's just like, maybe I'll try this wrestling thing. No, he's passionate. He understands wrestling. He knows his history. So, folks, wrestlers, people who want to get into wrestling, make sure you hit him up and treat them fair. Wrestlers like to be cheap. Not gonna lie, they like to be cheap. But we're talking premium services from an illustrious HBCU. James, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at I am James McBride. Of course, my Twitter handle, James McBride. I'm actually rebranding my website, so my website should be up soon. So that would be jsmcreative.org. And you can find me there and find me on Facebook, James McBride. Hit me up, DM me. We can talk business and we can set up a Zoom call and we can go forward from there, man. And then we can keep things and we keep this business going. As the older guys say, Undertaker say, we got to pass down the knowledge and keep it going. I want to pass down all my knowledge of techniques. And I'm actually in grad school right now, Brian, for emerging media at Loyola. So I'm about to finish that up. So that you talk about some new innovations that's coming that we haven't even tapped into yet. I think that the wrestling market is there. And honestly, Brian, this is the best time for the wrestling business. It's never been a time where it's 5 different shows that were coming on TV or online. This is the best time for the industry. And I think wrestlers, be prepared. You're probably going to be logged. This is the time to really pick up that momentum and run with it.
Y'all already said, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check him out. And if you missed all that, of course, you can get in contact with me and I'll make sure I link you up with him. So, folks, make sure you follow me at Brian H. Waters. Make sure you follow the Wrestling Realm at Wrestling Realm. Of course, like the fan page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search the Wrestling Realm. For our fan page on Facebook, simply go to the Wrestling Realm. Download the show everywhere you get your podcast from. Download it right there as we get revved up. We're looking for this comeback. My brother Glenn Thomas said 2020's the second half is going to be great. We still want to. I'm looking for it, but before I go, I want to give recognize we lost a legend here in Baltimore, the super Oriole fan and Ravens fan, Mo Gabba. He 14-year-old kid lost his life to cancer. Our prayers and condolences go out to his mom and his family. I had the opportunity to meet him and just a wonderful kid, just somebody who was just, he lost his eyesight at 1 year old. And he would call into the radio stations and just talk about baseball. And they said, I was watching the Orioles game, and they said he had a story about when he met Manny Machado. And Manny said, well, what do you want to see me do this year? He said, hit 35 home runs and don't get suspended. He said he was always sharp, So unfortunately, he lost his life. He's gone on to a better place. And in just 14 years, he was able to touch so many people, touch the hearts of so many people. Unfortunately, he did, he had cancer. He was blind, but he was a shining light on so many people. So if everybody could just live their life like Mo, you would have a great days. So I definitely want to, offer my condolences to his family. And then we also lost another legend in the wrestling business. I should say hybrid to the wrestling business, and that's the one and only Regis Philbin. Regis is, I believe he's a WWE Hall of Famer. I'm almost certain, if not, he will be. I'm sure. Just, he was always interacting. They say he grew up a wrestling fan, and just, we ever said, James, everybody was a wrestling fan at one point. Some stay wrestling fans for longer, and the same is with Regis. You may remember that time when he had the guy we had Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I saw the clip the other day, and the guy was like, the last question was, it was about a president. And he said, I want to use my lifeline. He had all 3 of them left. And he called his dad and said, Dad, I just want to let you know I'm about to win $1 million. I don't need the lifeline. And so that was just like one of them great TV moments. Obviously Regis and Kathy Lee, they always had wrestlers on there. That's how I found out about the show. Oh, they got wrestlers on it because, that's how it was. That Family Feud or anything. When you found out wrestlers was going to be on there, boom, you tuned in. So James,
Indeed.
appreciate you coming
sir.
on, man. And I hope you know this ain't gonna be your last time. You definitely coming back. You know,
I appreciate it.
yeah, definitely appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get notified every time the Wrestling Realm posts new content.